The Bitcoin Group, the American original. For over the last 10 seconds, the sharpest Satoshis, the best Bitcoins, the hardest cryptocurrency talk. We'd like to welcome our panelists, Stefan Kinsella from the Open Crypto Alliance.
Hello.
Joshua Shigala from thestandard.io.
Bring it on.
Dan Eve, the Crypto Raptor.
Dan Eve reporting live.
And I'm Thomas Hunt from the World Crypto Network. Moving on to issue one. Issue one, crypto price prediction. Bitcoin could be about to soar to $100,000 and Ethereum to 5K. The price of Bitcoin and cryptocurrency has jumped today, with Cardano making a huge leap higher, even after Coinbase revealed an Ethereum surprise last week. The Bitcoin price remains off the closely watched and large round number $50,000 level, but Ethereum has climbed back over the $3,000 mark. Cardano and Solana are also making double-digit gains, as almost any cryptocurrency you throw a dart at is up today. Stefan Kinsella, is the bear market over? Is it nothing but bulls from here on out?
In the long run, of course, yes. In the short run, who knows? I think so, but you cannot predict the market. I went to the Business Insider longer version of the interview that this article cites. Had to pay $1.50 to get that, so it wasn't really worth it. It looks like just her hunches. Her reasoning just seems to be that there are different waves of adoption that are going to come online because more and more people are going to get interested in it, which was always the plan for adoption. So it does look to me solid. It's rebounded from that low. Whether it's going to hit 100,000 by the end of next year, that seemed to me a pretty cautious, conservative estimate, saying it's going to be 100,000 by the end of 2022.
Josh Shigala, $100,000 by next year?
It's so funny that these people come out of the woodwork and then just pull a number out of their ass. Like, you know what? I do think there's a case here for Ethereum. Oh, it's going to be hard on this panel. Jeepers creepers. But this London thing is definitely there's some very it's a very interesting game theoretical move that they've made to burn all fees on the network. Like in the first 10 days, it was like $140 million worth of Ethereum got burnt. And because you don't give it to miners, you don't give it to anyone, you give it to everyone. That's basically what happens, because you don't give it to no one, you give it to everyone. And it's like it's a step towards like the whole proof of stake thing, but while it enables miners to continue mining while we're still in that phase, because, hey, you don't actually get it at that moment, but you get it through deflation. So but you have to hold your coins a little bit longer to realize that deflation. And so it's this sort of strange game theoretical move that they've made to head towards that whole proof of stake thing. Now, let's see if it works. I mean, what I love most about this whole thing is that you can have, economic experimentation without gulags. So, bring it on.
$140 million burnt. That reminds me of the time Vitalik donated all those Shiba Inu to COVID research. Dan Eve, your thoughts on the price of Bitcoin and, I guess, Ethereum?
Well, I think that article made me laugh because it was like, oh, Ethereum and Cardano are up. Maybe Bitcoin will follow. No, Bitcoin is the leader. Like, Cardano's just got a mini pump because they're putting in smart contracts, and like, like Tron has smart contracts that, the market didn't really care whether it dumps after the smart contracts, whatever, go live on September the 12th. It's still quite a way away. But ultimately, you know, things are following. I believe, I'm a believer, the stock to flow stuff. It just does seem, you know, you plot those little dots on the graph and they look all pretty and there's rainbow colors and stuff like that. And it does seem like, you know, Bitcoin's due for a massive leg up. It does seem very 2017-y. The sort of, you know, we had the mini pump up to sort of May, and then things kind of got a bit slow, and then they started to kick off again before the mega run in December. So I don't know. I think that, you know, people can pull figures out from anywhere, but anything is possible. Like anything is possible. Like when in 2017, like even when it was $1,000, we were like, you know, the March ETF was almost there, and there was all that excitement. You know, no one would have called 3,000. Like it was like, oh, this crazy person saying $3,000, and then it was 20,000 nearly by the end of the year, and you know it's peaked at what, 64 or something. So I think I'm behind. I'm now more behind the people pulling figures out of their ass than I am the sensible people, because that Bitcoin seems to go the crazy way, and I'm happy to follow it going in crazy land. But I can't with Cardano. Whenever anyone says it, I know I probably shouldn't think back to this, and the internet said it's bad. You should always not specific. Not that I did some sort of like therapy group on it or anything, but I think back to that tweet where like Charles Hoskins was trying to get through to someone like on support, and they said, "Hey, open a ticket," and he was like, "Do you know who I am?" So I can't take Cardano seriously because of that. Although my mum will kill me because she asked me when it went down to $1, should she buy some? And I was like, nah. So sorry, mum.
Well, you can choose any altcoin you want. They all seem to go up sometimes. Moving on. First, let's give an audience check. There's about 12 people watching us on YouTube. Everyone should give us a thumbs up right now and say hello in the chat. We want your response to the price question as well. There's about 6 people left on Twitter. We start out strong with 13. So hit that retweet button if you're out there. There's 1 person watching us on Twitch. So shout out to our lone Twitch viewer. You're the only one. So if you want to comment, you'll be the only comment. But now it's time for the exit question, where you compete against the predictor of predictors, prognosticator of prognosticators, the magic Bitcoin 8-ball, Stefan Kinsella. The price of Bitcoin this time next week, higher or lower?
Higher.
Josh Agala.
Do you know who I am? Higher, baby.
Dan Eve.
The only way is up.
And now the ball itself will shake the ball. Will the price be higher this time next week? My sources say no. My sources say no. The ball has spoken, and the ball disagrees with you. Moving on to issue 2, also about a ball, a basketball. Cade Cunningham partners with BlockFi and will be paid his sign-on bonus in Bitcoin. The #1 draft pick in the National Basketball Association, Cade Cunningham, has partnered with BlockFi. Yes, he'll be receiving his bonus in Bitcoin. He said he's not just buying Bitcoin, but earning it. He'll be doing giveaways, promotions, and other services for the company to help him earn more Bitcoin. Josh Agala, a former college player, now becoming an NBA player, the #1 pick in the draft, has just chosen Bitcoin.
Yeah, I mean, why wouldn't you? It's the best thing you can take right now. In fact, you know, this whole industry is absolutely booming. And it's funny to see the US trying to crush one of the last booming industries with these ridiculous regulations. But yeah, it's really great to see people wanting to be paid in Bitcoin. You know, that's a really great way of getting Bitcoin at cost without slippage. If you know, if they're getting paid. So it's a really great move. I like it. I implore it. More people should do it. Great companies like Bitwage have been around for years and years and years and years, done really well. They enable any employer to basically pay their staff in Bitcoin. In fact, I don't even think you need the employer's permission. What you can do is sign up to their, if I'm correct, sorry, this is non-sponsored or anything, but I just like the idea. You sign up and you get a bank account and you give your employer that bank account, and then you can decide how much Bitcoin arrives and stuff like that. But that's pretty cool as well. But yeah, BlockFi, well done. They're a lending platform. I really love that whole lending thing. I don't like that it's centralized. That's why, I like the more decentralized lending stuff that we're doing at the Standard. But it's really cool to see companies actually getting these big names on board. And I kind of feel like it's sort of 2015 sort of news to say, hey, we've got some big name accepting Bitcoin. But sometimes we have to, do a retrospect in this industry. Sometimes we need to go way back. I saw an article the other day about some like barber shop that's now accepting Bitcoin. And I was like, 2013 called and want their headline back. It was so kind of funny.
We'll do the number one basketball player this week. We'll do the barbershop next week. Dan, Eve, your thoughts?
Well, I think it's great that more big names are getting into the space. I'm not really an NBA connoisseur, so the first time I've heard of this dude was today actually. But it's good. It's someone who's being paid in Bitcoin. It quashes one of those myths, right? That you can't live off of Bitcoin, because there's all sorts of myths that are still around, which is like it's illiquid. You can't sell your Bitcoin. Even someone the other day that I got back into, or at least tried to get into in 2013, was like, well, the problem is it's illiquid, and I'm like, no, a house is illiquid. Like a house is something that's a pain in the ass to sell. Bitcoin is easy to sell. It's easy to buy. It's easy to sell. It's easy to be paid in it. It would be great to see more services accepting Bitcoin, and obviously, there's always the rumors here and there of big services that are accepting it, others ducking out, like Tesla, until they reach that 51% attack on renewables, as it were. But even people like Busta Rhymes is piping up again, which is cool. I know that he was like in what was it, the blockchain week in New York in 2018. I was there. I didn't go to the crypto house. I wish I did. It was pretty much a better scene apparently than the actual the main headline event itself. But Busta Rhymes was there, and he's like, even he was saying he wants to get paid in Bitcoin today on Twitter, which is pretty cool. The only downside is that if you're getting paid in Bitcoin, you've got to, because hardly anyone accepts Bitcoin, you've got to sell the Bitcoin, which is really hard. Anyone who's held Bitcoin knows how hard it is to sell the damn thing, especially if you've known about it for a long time. Like people who are in and out quick, they're not as attached. They can easily buy the Bitcoin and just sell it. Whereas me, it does become a scenario of my precious, and it just feels, you have that gut wrenching feel about that you're selling it for for X amount, and in 5 years' time, it's going to be a silly amount that's going to make you weep. So that's the downside to being paid in Bitcoin. I think that the only thing is about the setting himself up for a slight failure, I think, by saying that he's going to be doing Bitcoin giveaways, because now he'll be followed by all the scam zombies, doing the Vitalik and Elon Musk things, hey, I'm getting a Bitcoin giveaway, just send me your Bitcoin here and I'll send you 10 times as much back. But sorry, yeah, I think it's ultimately a very good thing. I think the more worldwide Bitcoin becomes via kind of influencers, those are the main pushers nowadays from a marketing perspective. TV and stuff's old school. It's influencers now. It's people that are big, who have a voice that are the ones that get heard and get listened to. And so I think it's great the more we have from the ordinary world breaking through into Bitcoin, especially saying they want to get paid in it as well.
All right, let's go to Stefan Kinsella. Dan, check your internet connection. Might be going up and down there. Stefan, your thoughts on the NBA?
Not being the world's biggest basketball fan, although I did go to college with Shaquille O'Neal, ran into him once or twice, standing at waist level. The headline is a little bit clickbaity because it says his sign-on bonus is in Bitcoin, implying that his salary from the team he's going to, but I think it's some kind of bonus from BlockFi. I don't blame the guy. I mean, a lot of these guys that are wealthy are going to become wealthy, have an interest in looking at where they're going to put their money. And he seemed to have some pretty intelligent comments about the dangers of inflation for the average person and banking services and money transfer services for the ordinary person, and how crypto can solve this. And I think this is just, I don't really know if Bitcoin needs advertisement to work. If it works, it's going to work on its own merits, just like Liberty is what I also believe. But I think this is how it gets adopted. It gets adopted by different waves of people getting interested in it and hearing about it, right? And FOMO happening. So I think we're still below the peak of adoption. And so you're going to have the MicroStrategy corporate treasury approach, and now you're going to start having wealthy celebrities start putting some of their money into it. So this is how it happens. People hear about it and they jump on board. So this is one reason to expect the price to be higher in the next year.
All right, let's keep those thumbs up going. The audience looks like everyone shifted over to YouTube. We got about 18 on there, 7 on Twitter. The one guy still hanging out on Twitch. Let's build on what Dan said for the exit question. Josh, will this ability of the players to hold their money in Bitcoin change the culture of the NBA and sports in general? Will players stop spending their money on fancy cars, limousines, and big houses when they realize, like Dan said, that even especially with their ginormous salaries, if they just hold the money, if they just save a little bit longer, they could have so much more? Josh Shigala.
Is it enormous or gigantic? I don't know. It's ginormous, but it's such a weird thing when you start to get into Bitcoin, because this is what happens, and this is why I've always said it's kind of a green thing. The greenies should embrace Bitcoin, because you tend to not want to spend stuff on crap anymore. You want to be less of a consumer, and because it's got to be really a thing that you really, really want. And that that you want it, even if you've had it for a year, you'll be like, yeah, I still love this thing, because every time you look at it, it's going to be more expensive. And so yeah, it might change the culture. I don't know, maybe no more of this and more of I don't know, thumbing your phone. I don't know what we need a signal for Bitcoin, but yeah, could definitely change the culture. I hope so. I hope it changes the culture in the whole, rap music, hip hop music, stuff like that, videos, all this sort of disgusting sort of obsession with baubles and stuff like that. Get real, folks. Get real. Change the world.
They were always fronting before about how much they had and what they were doing, but like Josh says, now maybe they'll be fronting about their savings. They'll be fronting about their accounts and how well secured their cold storage is and how they're high. But yeah, there isn't a symbol for like money going back into your wallet, or like taking the money back, not making it rain. Like saving, like going home for lunch, like not getting Starbucks, like negative rain.
Yeah, but taking the doggy bag,
Yeah, taking the doggy bag, eating leftovers. Dan Eve, like a boss, will the NBA players adopt frugality with their new Bitcoin?
Maybe like as it spreads to the rest of the ultra rich and the celebrities, instead of like MTV Cribs, we'll have MTV Ledger, where they just show a balance on their ledger and they're like, whoa, like walk around the ledger and that's it. They walk around the house and they're like, oh my God, you've got no swimming pool. And they're like, yeah, because I've got Bitcoin instead. Whoa. And then they walk around to another area and they're like, oh, there's no gold plated like sofa or something. Like, oh no, because it's in here. Whoa. I don't know, maybe it'll change everyone's time preference, right? I think Josh has kind of hit the point where it's a throwaway world, right? Like my parents like had their TV they had like for 50 years, and and it took ages to get a new one. Whereas me, I go through them like nobody's business, because you just like got to upgrade and you got to try things out. But it just your time preference changes because you don't want to spend the money. Like why would I spend it when I can get an even better? Like if you think about it, I can get 500 TVs if I just hold on for another 3 years, and have a giant wall of TVs if I just don't spend this amount now. So I think it's kind of good for teaching people about time preference and also until I was, even though I worked in a finance company, I didn't really realize the importance of like compound interest and saving it and stuff until Bitcoin came along after like 8 years of working in a finance company. And then I was like, oh, now I get it. Like now my time preference is starting to change. So I think we could be into it could have a much wider, greener effect on the environment, other than to counter some of the non-renewables that are being used.
I did read a story once about an NFL player who was living in a trailer, but I don't think it was so much about Bitcoin or saving money. I think he just wanted to focus on the football. He didn't want any distractions. He lived near the stadium. He lived in a, relatively nice, I'm sure, but a camping trailer. Stefan Kinsella, your thoughts. Will it change the NBA? Will the players go from bragging about their big money to bragging about their big wallets?
Well, I mean, in seriousness, in due course, yes. I mean, right now, when interest rates are 0.01% or something, there's not much of a compounding effect. So people don't look at it. I mean, the natural state of humanity is to have a certain natural rate of time preference, and that can get lowered over time, which is a good thing, with increased capital savings and property rights and accumulation of wealth. But the existence of fiat money and its debasement, especially since 71, has led to this culture. I mean, it's affected how people view things. It's affected society in many, many ways. There's actually a classic, great article by the Austrian school scholar Paul Cantor called Hyperinflation and Hyperreality, Thomas Mann in Light of Austrian Economics. And he discusses the sort of the insidious effects of monetary inflation on the culture, character of society, including getting mortgages and leveraging yourself with debt and spending and disposing. So yes, I think that as we are able to save in a convenient store value that goes up in value over time, that will over time affect people's preferences and even their character. And we can expect that to affect celebrities and these guys that have newly found wealth from sports or other activities. But I don't think there'll be anything special. They'll just be part of the general economy, the general society improving as money becomes sound once again.
All just proving that music video, thrift shop was far ahead of its time. All the tags that he's bussing. Extra bonus question. Let's talk basketball. I know you guys are totally prepared for this. Josh Shigala, who's your favorite basketball player?
It's got to be Jordan. I mean, I'm an 80s kid, Jordan all the way.
Dan, Eve, you sticking with Jordan or do we have another player?
Daffy Duck in Space Jam, like the old Space Jam. No, it's got to be Jordan. It's got to be Jordan.
The old Space Jam, much better than the new Space Jam. Stefan Kinsella, do you have a favorite player or are you going with Jordan?
Gotta love Jordan. I just saw him, but my family is just watched all the documentary about him. And but LeBron James is just something else to me. Something about the guy that always gets me. So I'll go with LeBron.
I also love that documentary. It was fantastic. Although the new Space Jam, not nearly as good as the old Space Jam. I think I got to join the panel and going with Jordan. I was going to talk a little about Luka Doncic and how the Kings should have drafted him and now the Mavericks have him and what a great story that was. And also I was going to recommend, there's a documentary on Netflix called Malice at the Palace. Really makes you rethink that incredible fight in 2004 where the fans in Detroit were throwing stuff at the players from the Pacers and some of the players went into the stands. Incredible documentary. They're doing a lot of these days. I think something about it's been 10, 15 years. It's blown everyone by. They're ready to talk about it now. So check that out. Not a lot of basketball talk on this show, but sometimes we fit some in. So a quick check up on the audience. Good time to give us a thumbs up or a retweet. Looks like the entire Twitter audience, except one person, has moved over to YouTube. We're up to 32 on YouTube. It's probably slamming in that chat. So go ahead and comment in that chat. Still the one guy on Twitch. Shout out to Twitch. Yeah. Check out shop.worldcryptonetwork.com where you can get still a couple of products. We've got to go back in and turn the old products back on, but we've got the World Crypto Network mug, Bitcoin Not Bombs t-shirt, and the Hal Finney shirt and mug, all at no profit pricing. No profit right now on the World Crypto Network shop. You can get a sweet deal. No profit. Moving on, issue 3, U.S. mortgage giant to accept Bitcoin this year and considering other cryptocurrencies. You know, why not? The second largest mortgage lender, United Wholesale Mortgage, starts to accept Bitcoin payments next year, starting with Bitcoin. They say that hopefully this year we can execute on that before anyone in the country. They're starting with Bitcoin, but looking at Ethereum and others. There's still no guarantees that this actually happens, but it could be a major move for the company that originated almost 560,000 loans in 2020, worth an astonishing $183 billion. The firm is the second biggest mortgage lender in the United States. Dan Eve, will you soon be paying your mortgage in cryptocurrency?
Well, hopefully I will, because they'll do, one of the services in the UK will accept Bitcoin. But unfortunately, with the way, like, I think Barclays, Santander, and some of the others have gone, it's pretty much the opposite. I think even Tesco the other day, gave a note out saying about cryptocurrencies being a scam. So they're going to stop all payments to cryptocurrencies or something. So I don't think we're kind of going that way yet. But at the end of the day, it's a natural progression, right? And I think that the more services that come on, the more mainstream services that actually start accepting Bitcoin, then eventually banks and mortgage companies and co will actually have to start accepting it. They'll be left out otherwise. And they're already being left behind anyway. And I think, maybe they're just a bit, banks are a bit sad that they're losing out on international remittances and the absolute killing they make, making, absolute, huge stacks of money off of people sending small amounts abroad, and, and a lot of that money being a commission. It's just a savage, right? The fact that the smaller amounts and the fact that people are sending money home, that's something that's been hit so hard. That is hit so hard when really something like Bitcoin, and especially Lightning, as the rollout in El Salvador has even proven that it can be done so very quickly and easily. In fact, I think I did see a Jack Mauler video today that he sent. I think he sent like $10 via his bank. Actually, I was pretty impressed with this, and then it was like instantly converted to Lightning to someone. And so I think it was in Nigeria actually, or Ghana. So that was absolutely, awesome. The more services we can see like that, and I think the more banks that actually, dip their toes in the water, the more success they'll have in the long run, because that's what Bitcoin was built for, making sure that we don't have a reliance on the banking system. So it's a case of, I think now it's a case of, what's the word? If you can't fight them, join them. And you can't fight Bitcoin, because it's a multi-headed ninja snake that you just can't turn off until the last miner is switched off. So just give in, banks, and let us pay for stuff in Bitcoin, mortgages and shit.
Stefan Kinsella, they're offering you a chance to pay your mortgage in Bitcoin.
They'll have my Bitcoins when they pry it out of my cold, dead hands. I think it's cool that they're doing this. My guess is there's two main reasons, to set themselves apart from the competition. Hey, we accept crypto. So there's something different about us. And also it could be, I wonder if some of these companies, some of the guys have trouble talking the board into doing the corporate treasury strategy. So this is sort of a backdoor way of doing it. Well, we'll just accept some payments in Bitcoin, and then they just won't necessarily convert them all. So maybe that way they'll accumulate Bitcoins. But you wonder how long it'll last too, because who was like the first company? Was it like Overstock? Remember, announced for a while it was going to accept payments in Bitcoin, and even Tesla. And I think they backtracked on that after some time. But maybe we're at a new level, and that's here to stay. But yeah, I think they're hoping to capitalize also on some people with newfound Bitcoin wealth who don't have anything else to do with it, and that are not necessarily diehard hodlers. So, hey, why not take some of their Bitcoins from them by letting them pay for their home with it, maybe get a house bigger than they should be affording, and they have to spend their Bitcoins on it. So I think it's a Bitcoin accumulation strategy by this company. But no, I won't be parting with mine. I don't spend my Bitcoin.
I do think they'll have similar problems to Tesla and Overstock, as you mentioned, because once they get the Bitcoin, what can they do with it? If they can't buy new home mortgages with Bitcoin, they've reached a dead end, right? They're going to have to convert it. They're going to have to pay a fee. They might have to have an extra tax or some kind of thing. So I think it all comes back to that thing where not everyone can accept Bitcoin because they can't buy things to sell with it. Like Overstock couldn't pay their merchants to get more stuff to sell more widgets. The merchants wouldn't accept it until everyone wants it. Bitcoin adoption is a really difficult proposition because of this chicken and egg back and forth. But at some point, there'll be a wave where everyone wants it, everyone has it, and it's really easy for them to switch into it. Until then, I think they're going to have that one-sided market project problem. And like Stefan was saying, unless they're just planning to save the Bitcoin, unless it's a secret investment strategy, I don't know what they're going to do with it once they get it. Josh Shigala, your thoughts on Bitcoin and mortgages? You are muted.
If they were really smart about it, they would allow people to over collateralize their loans. I mean, this is the way we're going. People are sick and tired of it. They want hard assets and soft assets. They want to accumulate. They want to save. This is the culture that Bitcoin is coming from. If they don't understand the culture, then they should get the fuck out of here. No, I really, people. This is what DeFi is all about. This is what Bitcoin's all about: collateralizing and then borrowing from that. So actually, you have more value, and you get something a little less that you can afford, that your value can afford. And you don't sell that value, you use it as collateral. And then if that collateral falls below, then it gets liquidated. That's when, the loans get liquidated and they can profit from that as the people giving those loans. But really, this is the way forward. I really hope that the industry heads more and more towards that model. And this is the true model to break the entire poverty cycle that, geez, I'd have to say like 80% of Americans, I learned the other day, 78% of Americans live paycheck to paycheck. I mean, this is such a crazy, crazy number. And it's so, and seeing things like what we're building at the Standard or what BlockFi do or anything, or what MakerDAO does, by allowing people to save but still have liquidity. Because the problem is, if you live paycheck to paycheck, you just don't have the ability to save. But what's wonderful in Bitcoin, if you can put it away, borrow from yourself to have liquidity, and then live, that first of all breaks that whole cycle of living paycheck to paycheck. So I'm really hoping that this technology will help people bust out of that. Mortgages are one of the main ways that governments print money. It's one of the main ways that they get more money out there. It's what drives inflation. So you drop interest rates in Europe. Here we have negative interest rates. Like, it's so cheap to buy houses right now and loans. Saying all of this, what you do want to get is debt in an inflationary environment. This is how you secure your wealth. This is how the wealthy get wealthier in a hyperinflation or a large inflation, or even any inflation, actually, is that you take fixed interest rates to buy real assets with debt in an asset that's depreciating in value or losing value. And then, like, let's say you buy a house for 500,000, and then in 10 years' time, a carton of milk costs the same amount. You've effectively paid off your house with a carton of milk. So this is what happens. This is how the smart people have their savings. So it might be a good thing. Just don't spend the hard savings, like the hard assets like Bitcoin, to buy a house. It's probably better to over collateralize the loan and get something nice. Not financial advice.
I agree with Josh. There's not a lot of advantages to this. When you really look at it, it's not like you get to take the Bitcoin pre-tax and like slip it under the table to these guys. They're definitely going to pay the tax on it. It's not like you get to put the Bitcoin there and say, okay, hold on to this Bitcoin, and someday when the house is worth a Bitcoin, then you can have it, right? That's a good deal. Like Josh saying, the collateral thing, the loany thing, all that. It mainly seems like they just get press. They get press as being the mortgage people that accept Bitcoin, and everyone's like, "Oh, that's great. Well, what about Lightning Network?" And then we just move on. So yeah, there's not a lot that even the second largest mortgage lender in the United States can do. Like we're difficult to impress these days. So I guess exit question: banks are into Bitcoin, basketball players are into Bitcoin, mortgage companies are into Bitcoin. Is there anybody you can think of that's not into Bitcoin yet who still needs to get into it? Dan Eve.
Local stores, surely, like there's got to be a chain that starts up, like a petrol station or something like that, something that's ubiquitous. There's kind of certain chains that have some Bitcoin ATM in there, but actually accepting Bitcoin via Lightning so that everyone gets familiar with paying with the QR code. I've been to South Korea a few times, and the QR codes were a really familiar thing. They've had them for years. And people are very used to it, and maybe people are just scared with paying with stuff with QR codes now. But it would be great to see a local store like Co-op in the UK, or even a petrol station. I think would be a cool thing to see accepting Bitcoin. Imagine that every time you go and fill up, you see a big Bitcoin sign on the door. That's what I'd like to see.
I would like to see a gas station. A long time ago, I thought gas stations would accept Bitcoin, but it hasn't happened yet. And like Dan's saying, something bigger, go national, like BP or a large company. Stefan Kinsella, who should take Bitcoin next that hasn't?
I mean, I think it's going to be inevitable. I was going to say the Taliban, but they probably already do. Maybe Peter Schiff to take Bitcoin in exchange for gold. Let's see if he would make that deal. No, I believe we're in the adoption phase.
Private business. I think he's got that private business where he takes Bitcoin for gold.
Oh, does he? Okay.
Yeah, I mean, he's one of those classic guys where he's like, yeah, my business takes it, but I think it's horrible. Blah, 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 blah.
Yeah, well, yeah, but I still think we're in look, it's not 2013 anymore. So I don't think the way that Bitcoin is going to become accepted and adopted is by merchants accepting it. I think that will follow naturally as more and more people are holders of it. So I think the store value function will continue for another good 5 or 10 years. And then during that time, more and more people will accept it, and more people will be willing to part with it as we get closer and closer to the plateau rate.
Josh Shigala, who's taking Bitcoin next?
It'll be it'll be some horrible thing that gets on the news and tries to fud the price down just before some major banker wants to buy a bag load of the stuff. It was always an inside job, folks.
Could be something worse than foreign terrorists. It could be terrorists inside the system. Thanks to everybody for giving us a thumbs up. Looks like we've got 40 people watching on YouTube now. So let us know in the chat who you think is going to take Bitcoin next. Maybe there's somebody we didn't mention yet. We still got 3 people hanging on Twitter, although they come in and out. They're very busy there on Twitter. The one guy's sticking with us on Twitch. So even if you're watching later on, it's okay to give us a thumbs up down below on YouTube. That's always good. So let's move on to issue 4. Issue 4. Coinbase will buy $500 million in crypto and invest 10% of all future profits in digital assets. CEO Brian Armstrong expects the percentage of profits spent on cryptos to grow over time. I suppose we should just start with the most important question. Why haven't they been doing this already? Stefan Kinsella, what do you think about Coinbase and their plans to buy Bitcoin and Ethereum, I suppose, with 10% of their future profits?
Yeah, I was wondering that too. I think the article said they had been accumulating cash, a few billion for some kind of purchase or some kind of contingency plans, but I guess they decided to go ahead and put some of it into Bitcoin. So they're getting into the corporate the treasury strategy too. But I think it's also good advertising and good PR. And also, their business depends upon there being a healthy crypto ecosystem. So they're already betting that crypto and Bitcoin will go up in value over time. So you might as well take advantage of that bet and double down on the bet. So I think it's a good idea. I think 10% is good. I think that the article mentions that they could increase that percentage over time. So I think this is all part of the wave of adoption. Even insiders are going to start adopting it more.
Everybody I know is trying to get their hands on some Bitcoin, and Coinbase is stacking cash. Joshua Shigala.
It's like there's companies like BitPay, for instance, have always been long crypto. They've always held bags of it. It's surprising. I guess one of the things that Coinbase had to deal with was all the regulation and the regulatory oversight that they have to deal with to get floated on the stock exchange. I don't know if that had something to play with. That had something to do with them not holding too much crypto on the balance sheets. So, having responsible fiduciary duty might have been part of that. But in hindsight, it would have been very, very profitable. Hold a lot more.
I'm pretty sure when the price goes up, you can see the dollar signs and their legs lift off the ground for those guys from Blockstream. I think they're holding a lot. Dan, Eve, your thoughts on Coinbase suddenly starting to hold crypto?
It's kind of strange that they haven't been, holding all along, right? They've been taking not just Bitcoin for a while, which they probably should have been stacking, right? Not just kind of converting it into fiat, but they've taken a load of other shit coins for a long time. So you'd think that with the fees, they would have been slowly racking up little portfolios. Interesting that they're going to use 10% of the 10% of profits to buy. So I wonder whether they'll market buy off their platform. They did say that when they sell, they won't dump on their own their own customers, which would be really nice of them. I think they said they do it via OTC, etc., like deals. But that there's I don't know, like there's it's gonna, I don't know, I think it's a good thing that obviously they're holding more Bitcoin, but it's just a really confusing thing that they built up such a huge cash position when you'd be bullish on your own model, right, which is like Bitcoin. So maybe, I don't know, maybe Brian was actually quite doubtful of Bitcoin all along, that it was he was running some giant gimmick platform, and he was like, no, I'll stack this fiat just in case it doesn't map out. But I don't know, maybe it's a good thing that, well, it's definitely a good thing that they're going to be holding on to a bit more Bitcoin. But it'd be interesting to see if they publish like what their holdings of shitcoins and stuff is eventually, for transparency purposes.
By the way, on the article, it links to bitcointreasuries.net to show the chart of holdings. And I found it interesting that the number one holder is MicroStrategy. But I don't know if you noticed, they call it MacroStrategy. Now, I don't know if that's a stupid typo or some kind of inside joke, like it's a macro strategy. But it's hard to believe that they actually got the number one holder on their very chart, the typo there. Okay, not everyone's good at spelling, but if you're not good at spelling, hire someone who is.
Maybe it's a sign. You're right. Or it's some sort of in joke about the fact that it's part of the macro vision, right? It's a micro vision, but I like it.
Yeah,
well spotted.
Yeah, it's probably a bad joke, but what I like about this story is we get to go back and say once again that Coinbase is stealing another company's strategy, but this time they're stealing all of the Bitcoiners' strategy. All of the Bitcoiners were like, hodl your coins. Don't keep them in Coinbase. I don't know if they're doing that part of it. I like the way that Dan said they're not going to buy and sell them on Coinbase because, that's a ripoff. So it's a just really interesting story. They could have had a gigantic Bitcoin treasury by now. I don't know why they don't. It doesn't make any sense. But moving on to the exit question, what company, could be anything, could be pizza delivery, what company will Coinbase go after next and steal their strategy? Let's see. Dan, Eve, what strategy will Coinbase steal next?
That's a very good question. Right. I think they're maybe they'll do a Tesla. and they'll be like, oh, actually, like Brian Greeny's going to grow his hair. He'll end up like next time you see him, he'll have loads of long flowing hair in kind of dreads, and he'll be like, oh, I've turned away from Bitcoin because of the fact that it's not so green. And then everyone will, like, he would have sold all his Bitcoin in the background, and Coinbase would have sold all this Bitcoin, and they would have dumped before it happened, and then bought it back up, and then he suddenly shaves his head and he's like, no, screw it, I'm back into Bitcoin again. So maybe, I don't know, I'm going for Tesla in some sort of weird, crazy anti-fantasy.
See, I think they'll go after Jamba Juice. I think they've always wanted to be into blenders, and they've wanted to have different ingredients and fruits. It's also a very non-political business. Coinbase doesn't like you to discuss politics at work. So they're going to want to avoid monetary policy or government work or pretty much anything in this world that has something to do with politics. So they just want to keep it simple, have those fresh juices, strawberries, bananas. They could name a smoothie after Brian Armstrong. Joshua Shigala, what business will Coinbase go into next?
Naturally, they'll go after Voltoro, where you can trade gold and Bitcoin and silver and some other crap coins back to gold. But Bitcoin and gold, it's an amazing thing because gold can be fully insured and audited. Why do you want to bank? Why do you want to go between Bitcoin and fiat? Why do you want to hedge the volatility in fiat? Like, sell the high so you can buy the dip. Why would you want to do that in fiat and trust a bank that's only insured to 100K or 200K, I think in America, 250, what is it? Anyway, it's probably not even insured, but the insurance companies just couldn't even handle if there was a major, like it would drive a massive inflationary wedge if they did have to pull that insurance card out. But why? Gold, it's a block of metal sitting in a vault. You can count it. You can insure it, and you can insure it all the way up to however much you want because it's just a block of metal, and it's the second most liquid market in the world under the FX market. Don't trade in and out of this nonsense fiat crap. If you're serious about selling some crypto because you think it's too high, get it into gold. That's why I started Voltoro, and that's why I like it. And that's why Coinbase will take it.
Spoiler alert, after Coinbase steals Josh's company's strategy, they will call themselves the first ever to do it, they will begin shocking. I know this is shocking, everyone. They will begin holding gold. Yes, holding gold as a percentage of their profits. It's something that Brian Armstrong has just invented right now. Stefan Kinsella, they're going into Jamba Juice. They're going to make Tesla cars, and they're going to take over Josh's business. What else can Coinbase do? They certainly can't be original.
Well, I was going to say, as long as they don't steal their customers' money, who cares what business idea they steal? But on the other hand, we don't want them to steal the business model.
That's the ultimate spoiler alert. Coinbase goes into the criminal business and takes everyone's money.
Yeah, we lost it. We don't know. You don't want them to
horrible boating accident, disaster.
Yeah, Mount Gox #2. You don't want them to steal the business model of IBM and InChain by just acquiring patents and becoming a patent troll. So let's hope they don't steal that business model. I don't know. Maybe they'll compete with or they'll pull a Richard Branson, a SpaceX, and get a rocket in outer space and say Bitcoin to the moon.
I love the rocket to the moon. I've also heard Coinbase is looking at music videos, and they might be making Betamax tapes. They say they have higher quality than the VHS. So Betamax.
That sounds like BSV's story. Sorry.
It could be big, man. It could be very big. Check out WCN Clips. Subscribe on YouTube. WCN Clips. We've got clips from this show and other shows. You can share them. You can check them out at WCN Clips on YouTube, and just Google that right there.
Yeah, big shout out to the WCN Clips guy. He's been working hard, chopping all of these episodes up, and they're well worth it. Go on there, support this kid. He's working, he's slaving away every week to make these things. Go in there, give it a like, and hit subscribe. He'll really it'll make his day.
Look at all.
Let's see if we can get the.
Look
Yeah,
at all
them.
the clips. Leave a comment. Give a thumbs up.
Yeah,
Help out
61
the
subscribers.
channels.
Let's get that up to 100 by next week. You can do it, folks. You can do it.
Everybody,
do it.
right now. Everybody that gave us a thumbs up, go
Yeah.
subscribe to WCN Clips. It's like part of the same action. You're like, I gave the thumbs up. Now I'm pushing subscribe. They got me doing all kinds of things this week. So, well, we are running out of time. We're going to go to predictions or story of the week. Josh Shigala, go ahead with a prediction or a story of the week.
Prediction basically is that the world's gone fucking insane, and people need to just wake up that there's global tyranny rising, and in terms of this crazy medical tyranny everywhere. Rise up, folks. Say no to mandates. Say no to mandates. Stop it. Call your freedoms back.
Brought to you by the Joshua Skagala Foundation for polio, smallpox, and other diseases that we never would have wiped out if we didn't have vaccine.
Yeah. And brought to you by the person that wants his own choice to do something. Fucking bullshit.
The right to get sick and die.
The right to get sick and die. Yeah, by a flu. Yeah.
Flautist. It's a flautist. Dan, Eve, do you have a prediction or a story of the week? Hopefully not political.
Well, a correction. So a bit of research, and it turns out that MacroStrategy is a subsidiary of MicroStrategy, and MacroStrategy is actually the entity that's holding most of the Bitcoin.
Okay, mystery solved. Sort of like Alphabet and Google, I guess. Okay.
Yes. Yeah. So my prediction then is going to be. By the way, I did obviously the thing. The whole Afghanistan thing was very, very terrible. But isn't it quite cute? All the pictures of like the guys like having ice cream. Like they're like, wow, this is ice cream. Having just been like brought up, to war and stuff, and they're like, wow, there's nice things like ice cream. I'm going to predict that. Unfortunately, I'm going to go a slightly negative thing, and I think that there probably is going to be some form of like. There'll be like the Taliban starts mining Bitcoin, or the Taliban starts using Bitcoin, and then loads of people are going to be like, oh, no, Bitcoin, blah, blah, blah. So I think that there's going to be a negative story about the Taliban and Bitcoin. And it would be, what would be good though, is if they Talibanned Bitcoin. That would, okay, I'll get my coat.
I just hope there's not going to be a tally ban. Who would ban tally? Bring a towel.
Or tally sticks.
But yes, it sounds like the Taliban are great people taking away all the women's rights, but they're still fans of ice cream. So we got that in common. Stefan
Biden loves ice cream.
He does. Prediction or story of the week? Go ahead.
Okay, if I'm not behind the times already, this broker expansion, the definition of broker that's being expanded in the U.S. infrastructure bill, which everyone's worried about the effects it will have on Bitcoin. I think it probably will pass. I think Ted Cruz, my neighbor, will be unable to stop it. But I think it will not hurt Bitcoin that much. And probably it will be overturned in the courts later. So that's my long-term prediction.
And why not decentralize Bitcoin mining? Get it out of the United States too. No more China, no more United States. I don't know where you're going to mine, but it's not going to be here. But that's about it. Still a chance for everyone to give us a thumbs up down below. That really helps the YouTube algorithm recommend this video to other people. You could also push subscribe if you haven't already. Go get a t-shirt. Check out WCN Clips channel. Go see what Ben's doing at lnbits.com. They got it all going on over there. They got some kind of new channel. They're just highlighting all the great things they do. So check that out. Anything else to say, Josh? We towards the end here? I think we're done. He's muted anyway. It's just as well. He's been silenced.
He's been silenced. It's a conspiracy. Hey, no, look, check out the standard.io. We're working really hard over there to create this thing. So check it out. The Telegram channel is growing. It's weird talking about Telegram channels, but we've decided to stick to a Telegram channel because it's like one nice little chat. And once we grow big enough, we'll go over to Discord. But right now it's Telegram because we're still a pretty small community over there.
And Dan, Eve, have them check out the Crypto Raptor, Adam Back's favorite rapper. You got any new raps coming out? Anything? Tell people where to check out your raps.
Well, just, on YouTube, check to look at Crypto Raptor. But I probably should do something like I wonder if Buster Rhymes would be offended if I did a cover of one of his tunes. But maybe, yeah, I do need to start some writing again, especially after feeling so good coming back from Mallorca blockchain days and having the opportunity to rap there on the roof in the little VIP little soiree.
Man, I was beautiful. There. It was so, as you would say in the hip hop culture, dope. It was dope, yes. Folks.
It was hip to the hop.
It was hip to the hop. It was. Nah. Yeah, we all got into it.
You got to keep making those raps, otherwise you're not a rapper. Otherwise you used to be a rapper. And
otherwise I've been rapped.
You've been wrapped.
Unwrapped.
And Stefan, we didn't get a chance to mention it, but what's going on at the Open Crypto Alliance? Where can people learn more about that and what you guys do?
Yeah. Check us out at Open Crypto X on Twitter, which stands at present for Open Crypto Alliance. We may have a name change coming, but we'll be announcing that. But we may have some interesting anti-crypto patent news in just a couple of weeks. So stay tuned.
Actually, I wanted
to Center for Disease Control, CDC. As long as you don't change your initials to a previous initials.
Exactly.
Go ahead, Josh.
I just wanted to ask more, Stefan, what your view is on the latest regulations in the US that everyone's been harping on about. Because this is something that you guys really focus on. You guys are kind of the front line for the industry in terms of lobbying, I guess, or keeping the bastards honest. What can you give us your perspective on what's going on there?
Which regulations are you speaking of?
This was the latest ones where Brian Armstrong said, "Oh, it's all right," but everyone's up in arms because it's saying that proof of stake mining has issues and gets taxed, or I'm not quite sure about the ins and outs because I'm not in the States, so I don't really follow it as strongly, but I do know that there was a lot of noise about it.
Well, our group is pretty narrowly focused on the patent threat itself, so we're not really focusing too much on the other regulatory issues. I think some other groups are doing that, so I couldn't speak to that without looking at it. But the patent threat's a big enough threat by itself to try to handle. In fact, Square's approaching it in a different way through COPA, the Crypto Open Patent Alliance, and we're working with them too on kind of complementary strategies. So we're focused on the patent threat. The other regulatory threat I know of, again, is the one I just mentioned in the infrastructure bill, which would expand the definition of broker.
That's the one.
That's the one I was referring to earlier about the provision snuck into the infrastructure bill.
Yeah.
So like I said, that is making the community nervous. It didn't seem to hurt the price too much.
Yeah.
And as Thomas said, it could just further decentralize mining. And so I don't really see it as being a huge problem, although it's stupid law.
Yeah.
And it's certainly a problem for Coinbase and Brian Armstrong, because they would be holding the crypto in the US. They would be proving of the stake inside the US. I don't know if Coinbase is mining yet. They could always get into mining. That's also someone else's business. Still a chance, Brian, you could get into mining. But yeah, I don't know. We'll have to see how it turns out. But thank you for your work, Stefan, with the Open Crypto Alliance, fighting against those patents, putting up defensive patents and such like that. Thanks to everybody for watching. I think we're running out of time. So until next time, bye.